Look at this. Somebody come look at this. Look at this. Somebody come and look at this.
Look at this TV. Today we're going to be reacting to the Critical Drinker, Shazam! Fury of the Gods movie review. I've been watching him for a few years. This motherfucker's hilarious. Subscribe to him, the Critical Drinker. Let's get right into it.
Sometimes you meet a stranger at a party or some dull corporate event and you end up having what I call a beige conversation. You swap some pleasantries, make a few innocuous jokes, and offer up some mild, inoffensive opinions about the current state of things. It's all perfectly polite and easygoing, but there's no real substance or purpose to it, and by the time it's over, the best you can say is, well, they seemed nice enough. And by the following day, you'll struggle to even remember a single thing that either of you said or did. Well, that's basically my experience of Shazam 2, a perfectly nice, reliably inoffensive, and completely forgettable sequel that nobody really asked for or wanted. A film that did all the things expected of a superhero movie, showed
I'm not gonna lie, Shazam, it was alright. I can't complain. I watched it. It was alright. It wasn't nothing spectacular about it. It had a couple funny moments in it. I thought it was funny. That's one thing. I think it was funnier than the last one. So I'll give it that.
Showed us some good-looking people in tight outfits, delivered a few obligatory action scenes, a tried and tested message about the importance of teamwork, trusting people to make their own choices, and the value of self-sacrifice, and threw in some innocuous jokes that even the most blue-haired of Twitter land whales would struggle to get offended by. And now that I'm sitting here talking about it, I feel like I have to keep referring to a plot synopsis to remind myself of what even happens. Shazam 2 is the very definition of a generic superhero movie, a film that doesn't really do many things wrong, mainly because it doesn't try to do, well, anything. It exists for no other reason than because it can. And yet, ironically, it's probably better than almost anything that Marvel have managed to shit out in the past couple of years, which makes it kind of sad that the film is absolutely bombing at the box office. But don't worry, I'll talk about...
Yeah, I thought the movie would have did better than it did because it was an alright movie. I don't know, I guess it's flopping in the box office. It wasn't nothing too crazy, no woke shit. Nothing that I can remember. And yeah, I don't know why it's flopping. People ain't give a shit a chance. They just expecting some woke political bullshit. So people like, man, I'm gonna just stay away from that shit completely.
Talk about that one later. Believe that. Anyway, the film once again stars Zachary Levi as Billy Batson, an orphan teenager from a suspiciously clean and efficient looking Philadelphia. Seriously, when I passed through it last year, the place looked like the aftermath of the Battle of Stalingrad.
I ain't been to Philly in a while, so I don't know.
Anyway, Billy has the magical ability to turn into a superpowered godlike being called Shazam because he stole it from a wizard in the previous movie. He and his mates have been working together as a superhero team to fight crime and prevent disasters in the city, but since they're basically a bunch of kids that have been handed godlike powers with no training or preparation, it goes about as well as you might expect. But that's the least of Billy's problems when Hespera and Calypso, a pair of evil gods from another dimension, break into a museum and steal the wizard's staff that gave Billy his powers. Their objective is to recover the golden apple from the Tree of Life so they can use it to restore their own world to peace and prosperity. So there's some fighting and one of the gang gets captured and Billy and the others try to negotiate his release, and there's a wacky joke about a magical pen that transcribes...
One thing I will say though, watching the movie, it didn't feel like there was a lot of stakes. Like, I didn't feel like anybody was gonna die. It just felt like, we just going through the movie, but I never felt like any of them was gonna die. I felt like by the end of this movie, all of them was gonna be alive, and that's kind of like what it was. Yeah, these movies nowadays, they don't give you that, like, you don't know what could happen. Like, I don't know what's liable to happen. You kind of know, like, everybody's gonna live. There's gonna be no twists. You can kind of predict what's gonna happen, but
describes everything they say, that gets hammered into the ground so fucking hard that it practically penetrates the Earth's core. Then there's more fighting, and Hespera gets captured by Billy, who decides to leave her alone and unguarded in a prison cell. She's a fucking demigod.
Yeah, that part was stupid. I don't know why he left her in the cell by herself. I was like, she's gonna escape at some point. 2 minutes later, she's back in wherever the hell she needs to be. I was like, come on. Why would you leave her there by herself? She has magical powers, motherfucker. God damn.
God with magical control over the elements, mate. Do you really think a set of steel bars are gonna stop her? Anyway, much to my non-surprise, Hespera escapes and steals the golden apple, but then Billy's mate Freddy also manages to escape because Hespera's other sister feels sorry for him and lets him go. Sure, okay. Then Calypso goes rogue and decides to wipe out all of humanity so that the rest of the movie can happen. So she summons a big army of disposable CGI monsters for the humans to
Of course, we have to have some disposable CGI monsters. What good is a movie without those?
fights. And since most of the gang have lost their powers over the course of the movie, it's up to Billy to face her one-on-one in a big CGI battle scene where I was never entirely sure of what was happening or why, but I know that at the end he sacrifices his life to stop her. But that's okay because then Wonder Woman shows up for some reason and brings him back to life.
Yeah, this part here too kinda was weird. Like, where did Wonder Woman come from? I remember a part in the movie they were saying something about only a god could bring him back to life or something like that, and then boop, magically Wonder Woman pops up and he's back to life. I figured it was gonna be something because I'm like, he can't die, he's the fucking star of the movie. This movie is Shazam. Shazam is the star. How could they kill him? So I'm like, he's gonna come back somehow, but I wasn't expecting Wonder Woman.
And everything goes back to normal like none of this even happens. You know, it's almost difficult to criticise a movie like Shazam 2 because it's so completely lacking in ambition and original ideas that it almost can't go wrong. The plot is the most standard boilerplate superhero story you could ask for. An evil enemy wants to unleash the apocalypse on Earth using a magical plot device that's the key to everything, and it's up to a plucky band of heroes to master their powers and work together to stop it. It's basically the Avengers, Justice League and Suicide Squad, only with a bunch of characters that no one really cares about. I mean, yeah, there's definitely a few moments where the stupidity reaches critical mass, and even the old "they're just kids" excuse isn't enough to explain it away. Like characters with overwhelming speed and strength that should allow them an easy victory consistently stop in the middle of fights to marvel at how cool they are, allowing time for their enemies to...
Yeah, that's another thing that was a little annoying. It was like they wasn't taking nothing serious. Like, I understand. That's one thing I don't like about the Shazam movies. Them being like kids in adult superhero bodies. I mean, it's cool, but they still act dumb when they superheroes. It's like, I don't want to see that. Just be regular fucking superheroes. You running around dumb, doing kid stuff, Skittles and shit. Like, I don't got time for that. Like, god damn.
Needs to regroup and come at them again. And then there's the totally inexplicable stuff, like one character who teleports out of the way of an incoming energy blast, only to get caught by it like 10 seconds later because I guess she teleported in an exact straight line.
That is another part that pissed me off. I was wondering, when she teleported, I was thinking that too. I'm like, alright, she got away. Okay, cool. When I seen the blast still coming, I'm like, wait a minute, what the fuck? Did you teleport literally in a straight line? Like, what is wrong with you? Are you retarded? So I'm assuming she's retarded.
Bullshit!
I mean, seriously, have you never heard of stepping aside? Power levels fluctuate wildly throughout the film. Shazam takes serious damage just by getting thrown against a wall, but later in the film he's able to punch through an entire building without even missing his hair up. Not to mention that nobody seems to spill a single drop of blood in the entire movie, even a character who gets impaled by a fucking dragon. And then there's the ending, that feels about as cheap and contrived as Ant-Man 3. Remember Star Trek Into Darkness, where Kirk sacrifices himself to save the Enterprise, only to get resurrected?
I like Star Trek Into Darkness.
By Khan's magical bullshit blood like 5 minutes later?
Not a great plan.
Well, that's basically Shazam 2. Remember when movies had stakes and consequences? I like that. There's also a problem with cast bloat in this movie. There's like 6 members of the Shazam team, but only 2 of them get any real character development. The others just kinda hang around in the background. But damn, I wouldn't mind seeing more of this one if you catch my drift. All I can tell you about one of the other characters is that she really loves Skittles.
Yeah, I didn't like the whole Skittles thing. That didn't make no sense to me. That was kind of stupid, but whatever.
In what has to be one of the most shameless and absurd pieces of product placement I've ever seen. Anyway, all this criticism's made me thirsty. Excuse me while I open a can of delicious Pepsi to quench my thirsts. I don't know how I'd get by without it. Zachary Levi is decent as Shazam, bringing the same manic, childish energy as the first movie, and watching him swagger around in his big, goofy red costume, it's kinda hard not to like the guy just a little bit. Billy's a clueless kid that's totally out of his depth in this situation.
Yeah, I like the dude that plays Shazam. He played a good Shazam.
And there's a decent little subplot about his angst over growing older and losing the family that he's come to rely on. It's not exactly Shakespeare, but it's enough to keep his character arc ticking over. Helen Mirren does her best in a part that's not really worthy of her talents, and while Jimon Honso is always fun to watch, the movie doesn't really give him much to do except to crack a few deadpan jokes here and there. But by far the worst offender has got to be Lucy Liu, who looks bored out of her mind and phones in a performance that only serves to highlight how clunky her dialogue is. I suspect that most of her scenes were filmed against a green screen, reacting to something that wasn't even there, but it's a bit of a problem when the main antagonist of your movie looks like they couldn't give a shit if they win or lose. And I guess that basically sums up my own experience of this movie. I was never particularly engaged with it because I never got the sense that anything or anyone was genuinely at risk.
One thing I'll say, I feel bad for the wizard, the black dude that played the wizard. I don't know his name, but he is like, he never gets no shine. It's like, when in doubt, if you need a C-class villain, call the dude from Blood Diamond. That's what I know him as, a dude from Blood Diamond. I forgot his name, but he don't get no respect, bro. God damn, he's always some C-class, D-class villain in some movie. Like, when is he gonna get like a major role? Like, my boy could act like.
Just like Black Adam, it becomes difficult to pick apart the writing of Shazam 2 because by the time you come to think about it, you've forgotten half the stuff that even happens. Were the characters likeable? I mean, I think so. The actors seem pleasant enough, but they get so little development that it's tough to say anything substantial about them. What about the action scenes? Well, I vaguely remember a bunch of stuff exploding and some disposable CGI monsters showing up, but that's about it. Were the jokes
The CGI was alright, the dragon was alright. The like other little disposable characters, that shit looked terrible. But the dragon, they spent their money on that dragon. I guess most of the budget went into that fucking dragon.
funny? Well, most of the humour felt about 5 years out of date, and the recurring gags were used way too much, but it all seemed pretty good-natured and well-intentioned. Unlike the MCU, I never got the sense that straight white men were legally mandated to be the butt of every single joke in this film. But the biggest question I find myself asking about Shazam 2 is, what was even the point of this movie? As much as the first Shazam was a welcome relief from the bleak, desaturated nihilism of the Snyderverse, it wasn't exactly a roaring success at the box office, and it definitely didn't feel like it needed a sequel. Not to mention the fact that just like The Flash and Aquaman 2, it represents a creative dead end for the DCU, so there's not a whole lot of incentive to watch it. Basically what I'm saying is that the first Shazam was an ideal time to play it safe. This is not. This is the time to go all in, take risks, do the unexpected. And therein lies the rub, dear viewer. The days when you could just trot out another generic boilerplate superhero movie like the dozens of others that came before it are a thing of the past. The superhero genre is heading into its twilight years now, and if you really want...
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie, I never thought a day would come where superhero movies would be failing like this. Especially after coming off of the Avengers, the Endgame and all that. It was like, I'm thinking this shit, we only finna go up from here, but these movies just been, they just been so bad.
If you want to grab audiences' waning attention, then you have to raise the bar of quality, passion and imagination beyond not making something terrible. As I said at the start of this review, I came away from Shazam 2 with no real sense that I'd seen anything significant. Just like that conversation with a pleasant but forgettable stranger, there's definitely worse ways to spend your time, but I can't really say this is worth spending your hard-earned cash on. Now, just before I fuck off back into the ether, I wanted to make you aware of a little project that I've been working on. My first ever comic book, which is an officially licensed prequel to the Rambo franchise, is now available to order through Indiegogo. A New Kind of War tells the story of Colonel Troutman when he was a young Special Forces operative behind enemy lines in the Korean War. And well, if you're a fan of that particular franchise and you're interested in delving into the expanded backstory, then you might just find it interesting. Either way, I'll leave a link in the description and you can take a look. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Go away now.
Go away now.
Look at this. Somebody come look at this. Look at this. Somebody come and look at this.